Hello everyone, welcome to our channel where your kids will learn important lessons from our exciting animation series based on real-life situations. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. Let's start our story. In a warm and cozy kitchen one fine day, there was a happy family of biscuits living inside a large glass jar. They were all different shapes and sizes, but they lived together in harmony and were best friends. Among them was a brave little cookie named Chip who wasn't like the others. Unlike his friends, he didn't like sitting quietly in the jar all day long. Instead, he liked to think about adventures outside the jar. He dreamed of seeing the world beyond the kitchen window and meeting all sorts of interesting characters. Of course, the other cookies thought this was a silly dream. After all, they were just cookies. What would a biscuit know about adventures? They enjoyed their simple life in the jar and didn't want anything to change. One day, while Chip was gazing out the window, he turned to his friend and said, "Why should we always be eating or just sit here waiting for snack time? I want to see what's beyond that wall." The other cookie shook its head and replied, "You're crazy, Chip. We're cookies. We crumble. It's our nature. We're not meant to go out there." "Oh, I'm sure I won't crumble," said Chip confidently. "Not today." Just then, the sound of footsteps approached the counter where the jar sat. The cookies inside gasped and huddled together in fear. Every time the giant hand reached into the jar, one of them disappeared forever. Chip, though, felt a strange excitement. Maybe today he would be the one to escape the jar and explore the outside world. When the hand reached in, Chip jumped out just in time. "Here I go," he shouted. The other cookies watched in amazement as Chip closed the lid and went on an adventure. He climbed onto the countertop and looked around. Everything was so big and new and exciting. Then he noticed a friendly-looking mixer and asked, "Excuse me, can you tell me where I can go to have an adventure?" The mixer, who had seen many things during its time in the kitchen, was surprised to hear a cookie asking for an adventure. Well, a cookie out of the jar. That's unusual," it said in a robotic voice. "What do you want an adventure for? You'll only end up crumbled and eaten. That's what cookies do. But I'm not usual. I'm unstoppable," said Chip proudly. The mixer laughed, a sound like grinding gears. "We'll see how unstoppable you are. First, you need to cross the countertop. It's a dangerous journey." As if to prove the mixer's point, a large spoon suddenly appeared and said in a grumpy voice, "Looking for someone to eat?" When Chip jumped away from the spoon, it said, "Ha ha, you'll fall apart." "Trust me, I'd rather fall trying than stay in fear," said Chip. As he continued his adventure, he noticed a small puddle in the corner of the countertop. It sparkled in the light and looked like a miniature pond. He took a step closer and suddenly slipped. "Help!" he cried as he slid toward the puddle. Water splashed everywhere as Chip struggled to keep his shape. It seemed like everything the mixer and the spoon had said was true. He was going to crumble right in front of their eyes. Chip tried his best to stop himself, but the water was too slippery. He shut his eyes tight and whispered, "Stay strong, stay strong." To his surprise, he didn't crumble. He had made it to the other side of the puddle. Breathless and scared, he said, I did it." The mixer and the spoon stared at him in disbelief. Neither of them had ever seen a cookie escape the countertop, let alone a puddle. But Chip's adventure was far from over. He knew he couldn't stay on the countertop forever. He needed to find somewhere to hide before someone came and ate him. Just then, he spotted a clean white napkin on the table nearby. He crawled onto the napkin and curled up into a ball. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep him safe. As the minutes passed, he heard the sound of the glass jar being opened again. The other cookies were coming to check on him. Chip stayed still until he heard their worried voices. "Is anyone there?" they called out. "Oh, Chip, where are you?" Suddenly, one of the cookies spotted him on the napkin. "There you are, Chip. Are you all right?" another cookie asked. "But why did you come out of the jar? Don't you know how dangerous it is out here?" Chip stood up proudly and replied, "Yes, But I did it. I saw the world outside the jar and I'm still whole. The other cookies stared at him in awe. They had never thought about leaving the jar, let alone exploring the countertop. Just then, the hand that had taken Chip out of the jar reached in again, but this time it didn't grab anyone. Instead, the giant hand picked up the entire jar and placed it back on the shelf. Chip watched as his friends returned to the safety of the jar. He was happy for them, but he knew he couldn't go back. He had seen too much of the world to be satisfied with a life inside a jar. As the days passed, Chip continued his adventures on the countertop. He made new friends along the way, including a wise old toaster who taught him how to navigate the kitchen safely. Chip learned that even though he was a cookie, he could do more than just sit in a jar. He could explore, discover, and even make a difference in the lives of those around him. One day, the other cookies gathered the courage to leave the jar and join Chip on the countertop. They had been watching him for weeks and were amazed by his bravery and determination. At first, they were scared and unsure of themselves, but with Chip's encouragement, they started to explore. Together, they discovered that the world wasn't as dangerous as they had imagined. In fact, it was full of wonder and excitement. From that day on, Chip became a legend in the kitchen. The cookies would gather around him and listen as he told them about his adventures. He inspired them to be brave and to never give up on their dreams. And whenever they felt scared, they reminded themselves that they were not just cookies. They were adventurers, explorers, and most importantly, they were friends. After listening to this beautiful story, you might want to take a moment to reflect on your own life. Ask yourself, what kind of adventurer are you? Are you like Chip, always eager to explore new things? Or are you more like the other cookies, content with your comfortable life? There's no right or wrong answer. The important thing is to be true to yourself and never give up on your dreams. Thank you for watching this episode. We hope you enjoyed the story of Chip, the cookie who refused to crumble. If you want to watch more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. With every new episode, your kids will learn important lessons about life and become better individuals. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.